then assert hourly rate usury laws that impose an upper limit on the interest rate that lenders can charge. Key concepts in summary. 4.1 Demand and supply at work in labor markets. In the labor market, households are on the supply side of the market and firms are on the demand side. In the market for financial capital, households and firms can be on either side of the market. They are suppliers of financial capital when they save or make financial investments, and demanders of financial capital when they borrow or receive financial investments. In the demand and supply analysis of labor markets, we can measure the price by the annual salary or hourly wage received. We can measure the quantity of labor various ways, like number of workers or the number of hours worked. Factors that can shift the demand curve for labor include a change in the quantity demanded of the product that the labor produces, a change in the production process that uses more or less labor, and a change in government policy that affects the quantity of labor that firms wish to hire at a given wage. Demand can also increase or decrease, shift in response to workers' level of education and training, technology, the number of companies, and availability and price of other inputs. The main factors that can shift the supply curve for labor are how desirable a job appears to workers relative to the alternatives, government policy that either restricts or encourages the quantity of workers trained for the job, the number of workers in the economy, and required education. 4.2 Demand and supply in financial markets. In the demand and supply analysis of financial markets, the price is the rate of return or the interest rate received. We measure the quantity by the money that flows from those who supply financial capital to those who demand it. Two factors can shift the supply of financial capital to a certain investment: if people want to alter their existing levels of consumption, and if the riskiness or return on one investment changes relative to other investments. Factors that can shift demand for capital include business confidence and consumer confidence in the future, since financial investments received in the present are typically repaid in the future. 4.3 The market system as an efficient mechanism for information. The market price system provides a highly efficient mechanism for disseminating information about relative scarcities of goods, services, labor, and financial capital. Market participants do not need to know why prices have changed, only that the changes require them to revisit previous decisions they made about supply and demand. Price controls hide information about the true scarcity of products and thereby cause misallocation of resources. Self-check questions. 1. In the labor market, what causes a movement along the demand curve? What causes a shift in the demand curve? 2. In the labor market, what causes a movement along the supply curve? What causes a shift in the supply curve? 3. Why is a living wage considered a price floor? Does imposing the living wage have the same outcome as a minimum wage? 4. In the financial market, what causes a movement along the demand curve? What causes a shift in the demand curve? 5. In the financial market, what causes a movement along the supply curve? What causes a shift in the supply curve? 104 Chapter 4. Labor and Financial Markets. 6. If a usury law limits interest rates to no more than 35%, what would the likely impact be on the amount of loans made and interest rates paid? 7. Which of the following changes in the financial market will lead to a decline in interest rates? A. A rise in demand. B. A fall in demand. C. A rise in supply. D. A fall in supply. 8. Which of the following changes in the financial market will lead to an increase in the quantity of loans made and received? A. A rise in demand. B. A fall in demand. C. A rise in supply. D. A fall in supply. 9. Identify the most accurate statement. A price floor will have the largest effect if it is set: A. Substantially above the equilibrium price. B. Slightly above the equilibrium price. C. Slightly below the equilibrium price. D. Substantially below the equilibrium price. Sketch all four of these possibilities on a demand and supply diagram to illustrate your answer. 10. A. substantially below the equilibrium price B, slightly below the equilibrium price C, substantially above the equilibrium price D, slightly above the equilibrium price. Sketch all four of these possibilities on a demand and supply diagram to illustrate your answer. 11. Select the correct answer. A price floor will usually shift A. Demand B. Supply C. Both D. Neither. Illustrate your answer with a diagram. 12. Select the correct answer. A price ceiling will usually shift A. Demand. Price ceiling will have the largest effect B. Supply C. Both D. Neither. Review questions. 13. What is the price commonly called in the labor market? 14. Are households demanders or suppliers in the goods market? Are firms demanders or suppliers in the goods market? What about the labor market and the financial market? 15. Name some factors that can cause a shift in the demand curve in labor markets. 16. Name some factors that can cause a shift in the supply curve in labor markets. 17. How do economists define equilibrium in financial markets? This OpenStax book is available for free at http://cnx.org/content/col23750/1.2. Chapter 4, Labor and Financial Markets 105. 18. What would be a sign of a shortage in financial markets? 19. Would usury laws help or hinder resolution of a shortage in financial markets? Critical thinking questions. 21. Other than the demand for labor, what would be another example of a derived demand? 22. Suppose that a 5% increase in the minimum wage causes a 5% reduction in employment. How would this affect employers and how would it affect workers? In your opinion, would this be a good policy? 23.